So I had a dream while I was in Albania on holiday. Did I tell you guys?
Oh, you told me a little bit.
Yeah, the fever dream.
Yeah, so I had like a fever dream where there was like a monkey-sized creature, and it was like grabbing onto my shoulders.
That's a big monkey, by the way.
No, it's just long arms. And then it like wrapped its legs around my waist, and it was like whispered in my ear. It was like, "Oh, I'm on your back, though. Don't fucking look at me or whatever." And then I was like, "Yo!" And I hopped out of bed, and I was like, "Wait, I don't know if I'm dreaming or if this is real." So I like started creeping out the room, and then my mate who I was traveling with was like, "Connor, what the fuck are you doing?" And I went, "Is there anything on my back?" And she was like, "No." Anyway,
Talking of dreams, what a dream project.
we've got a dream not a fever dream project. No, this was great.
No, this
we
is
had
a
good
nice
time.
dream.
Yeah, we had a good time with this one.
So we've started working with an agency called Creed, who commissioned us to do a video project for G4S. So basically, G4S want to get more women into security roles. So they've commissioned, Creed, now us, to do a recruitment film to drive that, essentially. So it was featuring different roles within their company, which ranges from like, it's not just stewards basically, which is obviously what a lot of people probably think about security roles. There was like reception, CCTV operator.
It was like dog handler as
dog
well.
handler.
My favourite.
Yeah, there was loads. Like the list was like really quite extensive, to be fair. But yeah, it was all to do with getting women to apply to these roles, basically, because I can't remember the exact figures, but a lot of their workforce are male, basically, and they want to change that. So that's what we were commissioned to do. Basically, it was like a brand narrative film. Rather than like your stereotypical kind of recruitment films where it would be like, I don't know, Helen from accounts telling you about how good the company culture is. It was less that. It was more, so we used actors. The voiceover was scripted. It's the kind of thing that it could sit online on social media, but it also could be a telly advert.
Yeah, but I think with this one, it was definitely more like a website online campaign, right? That's what they were kind of going for.
Yeah.
You guys, I think, did a lot more of the storyboarding stuff than I did. In fact, you definitely did. I didn't do any of the storyboarding stuff. So I just want to...
I'm glad you know what you did.
I did the editing. I know that. But apart from that, it was mainly, I guess, the two of you, really, sort of jumping back and forth with Creed.
Obviously, working with an agency, which is different when we go direct to client, they did a lot of the creative up front. Which included the storyboarding. So they presented us with the storyboard, and then obviously like we can go through it and give our opinion.
Was there any
give our input?
Because with us, we didn't have like we think we should do this scene here or this scene here. They were like very specific about, right, this is the structure, because that's how it matched up with like the VO and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is the visual, this is the audio, which is usually something we do ourselves, right?
That has its pros and cons, I guess. Pros being we know exactly what the client wants, which is always useful. Like going into any project, any shoot, knowing exactly the shots that we need to get. The con is that
it was me,
not you. The con is that obviously it gives us slightly less flexibility in terms of like, obviously we all know that not every storyboard is followed like religiously.
Yeah.
Like there's times where a shot might not work, or in the edit, like once we get the footage to you in the edit, you go that
doesn't work for me.
The pacing doesn't work, or the flow doesn't work, or whatever it might be.
Well, we definitely started off with a very strong storyboard, but throughout the months of the pre-production, it then became a lot more intense, a lot more structured and detailed. We had each image of the storyboard, but then underneath was like full paragraphs of like, also get this, but it needs to be exactly like this in this angle, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I guess it's because the VO was like, okay, G4S knows specifically who they want to target with it.
Exactly.
So they're like, right, this has to stay in because we're trying to target this demographic, this demographic, this demographic, and each piece of the VO lines up with that.
And it was the emotion that kind of went with each visual. For example, like... one of the lines was like, to champion or something like that. You want to see something that kind of represents what's being said as well. So they were quite strong on that, which then meant that we had to work around the creativity part of it, like Cal said.
Yeah. It's like helpful for us because we can take that and then adapt it in a sense by going, okay, where are we going to shoot this? Maybe we're going to shoot a bunch of different angles of it, but we know it has to be woman B in security room looking at footage of whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we know it's these three things. It's how do we make that, I guess.
Yeah, but I think that's why where it again has its pros and cons, because always in the back of my mind I always think like when we get the footage to you, for example, and like because it often can happen like when you're storyboarding something and you think it's like the flow is going to work and the pacing's going to work and then it doesn't. Well, then you're knackered, aren't you, if you haven't kind of shot for anything else.
Yeah.
You know, if you, I don't know, let's say in the storyboard there was a single shot of one of the actors in the CCTV room. Well, if that's the only shot we got in that room, but it didn't work in terms of the flow of the edit,
Yeah.
then what are we going to do?
That's true. It helps that Creechy Forest had such like a specific vision early on because I guess they might not have timed it out like in a video format, but they know, okay, we need this line. This line is probably going to take 2 or 3 seconds. Therefore, this sequence can be around that or a little bit longer or whatever. And then it's our decision to cut that out or to add on to it or whatever.
Yeah, and also we only had 2 days to get it all in.
Yeah, which is tight considering like it wasn't a particularly long film. I think it's like what, a minute long, something like that. It's not a huge piece of content.
Yeah, so there's 2 things. So obviously, like the number of scenes that we needed to get was quite a lot. I think there was there 5 on each day or 4?
I think it was
No,
nine,
it was
nine
5
total.
before.
9 overall.
Yeah.
Which is quite a lot.
So it was 5 in the stadium and then 4 in the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
We wanted to have it as a bit of a higher production value as well.
Yeah.
First of all, we had the budget, which was all lovely. It's always nice to work with clients who are willing to kind of, you know, take not a risk, that's not the right word, but kind of push boundaries a little bit.
Invest in it. Yeah.
Invest in it a little bit, which is nice. We worked with a DOP, James, quite a lot. I love working with him, but me and him have had quite a lot of conversations over the past couple of years since we've known each other, that we're always trying to like push the quality, push the production value up as much as we can on each one. Obviously, every project's different, budgets are different and all that kind of stuff, but I kind of knew with this one that we had it there if we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So me and Jess had a call with him before the shoot, to go through each scene and how he would like light it. So we had like a lighting plan with him.
We were there for a good hour, I think.
Yeah, it was a long call, but like, which when it comes to the shoot, makes everything more efficient. I'm sure Jess will talk about like the logistical nightmare of these 2 days. But from my point of view, because obviously like my role on the shoot days was more, I was directing the thing, so I was more looking after like visually and the lighting and all that kind of stuff, and Jess was more like logistical, producing and looking after like talent and client and things like that. But so from my point of view, going into each of these scenes already knowing how we're going to light it and what shots we're going to get, because we've already had that call with James, was like, it's just saved so much time, which
is specifically helpful because of the like lack of time, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because we had so much to get in. I know 2 days doesn't sound like a short amount of time, and they were kind of long days as well, but it is.
But you're right. You want to get as much of that nailed down before, so that on the day you can focus on the little challenges as they like.
Yeah,
right?
And there's obviously there's things like, because we wanted to push the production values a bit more than we potentially normally do, it takes longer to set up. So you've got to factor that in.
Well, during the call, I even spoke to James about how long he thought each of these setups were going to take. And he said to me about an hour and a half for each scene, to be honest.
Yeah.
So then I applied that to the schedule that I made, and then realised it was going to be a really long day if we were doing that, because I had to set it all up, but then also incorporate like break times or like move-in times. And we were going from like 8 o'clock we were getting close to like 12 hours here. So then I had to try and like wiggle around that hour and a half. I had to kind of switch it to about an hour. But due to all this time, it was very important to make sure everyone knew where they were, so we weren't going to waste any time. So we had 4 models, we had a makeup artist, we had all the clients, we had people from Creed and G4S, we had all our crew, we even had an assistant as well. So there was a lot of people around, and it was just making sure that we had good conversation on who was needed where, what time, how long people were taking to do things, whether the models were dressed, had makeup done, whether you were all
I know people
set,
were dressed when they were on set, to be honest.
dressed in their outfits, because they had
Thank you.
outfits. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
It's not that kind of shoot.
Yeah.
You wish.
Good grief. This is
Anyway.
for women in
Good
security.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's establish where you were, because you guys were at Burnley Stadium, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at Turf Moor in Burnley, yeah.
Yeah, because we
I
were
guess that's what we not said.
we were looking for a stadium,
Yeah.
and I remember you guys were having a nightmare about it, like asking people's cousins, second cousins, dogs, auntie,
Yeah.
that whole
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
being
yeah.
like, "Hey, you got a stadium? We need a stadium."
Yeah.
And Burnley's the one that came back and were like, "Yeah, you can film." Or was it just for the day? That's what we had.
Yeah, yeah. So, because it was two-day shoot, and the first day was going to be at a stadium, and the second day was going to be in a house. Because the idea was, for context, that in the final film, it's all these women going about their like normal lives, their normal like morning routines, getting ready for work, then leaving for work and going doing their G4S role. So the stadium was for all the security roles, which was great because we covered, I don't know, did 5 different roles. So that extensive list that I talked about before, we had to like narrow that down to like which are the most like important ones that you want to kind of cover, and the more like realistic to get. For example, it'd have been great to do the dog handler, but then you need a dog, and
You need a
all.
dog
You're
on
like
set.
logistically, it's just like we've already got so much to think about. Let's just bringing animals into it would have been a whole.
You'd
other
also
thing.
need someone to handle the dog as well. None of us know like how to
No,
control
yeah,
that kind of
exactly,
dog.
yeah. Yeah. So we were at Turf Moor, and they were really helpful. They were really nice. Me and Jess went for a recce
did.
about, I don't know, a fortnight before the shoot, maybe. They were really accommodating, and that was really helpful for you to plan out the day, I guess.
Yeah.
Good input.
Can I just say the locations, by the way? I've only just realised that all of the house stuff was in the same house.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know that?
I just, while I was editing it, I don't know what it was, but I think it's because everything is like each person gets a room.
Yeah.
So like Danya, one of the
Danya,
actresses, she was in the bedroom, and then you had another actress and she had the hallway, and then there was another actress, she was in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And for some reason my brain didn't link together that they were all in the same house.
It'd
That's
been
because
ve-
it was a big house.
It would have been very impressive to get to 5 different locations.
I know. But
4
I
different
think
locations.
I think what was more difficult, and you guys can maybe fill me in on this, is especially when it got to the stadium stuff, is I guess differentiating between locations in the stadium.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if in the initial storyboard the whole point was to make it look as if it was in different locations. Because I think by the end we were like, okay, they all happen to be working a job at this location.
Yeah, and I think if you see the final edit, which I'm sure is linked somewhere.
Yeah.
Go find it.
We'll put it
Good.
here.
I think I don't think it's obvious that it's filmed at the same.
I don't think it's obvious,
place.
but I think having them all be at like a stadium context, I know is a question.
Yeah,
early
I
on.
mean, you kind of got to be realistic as well. Like we only had a certain amount of time and budget and all this kind of stuff, so it was great that Turf Moor had all these different places that we could do all these film all these scenes and roles.
Yeah, solid gaff though. That honestly, the fact that it's like the same place is really
Yeah,
thrown me
yeah,
for a loop.
yeah.
I don't know why I never
I
considered.
mean, one
that.
of the things that I did think, which might have been a problem, which I don't think ended up being, is that obviously a football stadium or any sporting stadium will have branded colours of the home team.
Oh yeah,
So like the stand was obviously claret and blue, and all the banisters were claret and blue, and all the decor on the walls was, you know what I mean? So it's like if you're that way inclined, if you can spot those things. But actually looking at the footage, I don't think that was ever an issue.
I don't think that came up. Yeah.
No.
So-
And then the second location was just someone's house,
Yeah,
basically.
freaking magical house. Where was it? That was in Manchester, right? How far away from?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I can't remember where it was.
It
Cheadle?
was south.
Cheadle? Charlton. It was
Charlton,
Charlton.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, we tend to use a site. Can I name the site?
Why not?
Yeah. UK locations.
Shout out UK locations are really good.
Yeah, it was great. They have this function on the website where you can do a virtual recce, so we can again go like we can do this scene in this room and this scene in that room, and so Jess was able to plan everything before we got there.
I did. I think the one difficulty was knowing who was going to do what though, because that wasn't done until the day. So I could plan.
As in like the actors.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we didn't associate an actor with a scene.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. So I could make the schedule, but I then didn't write down who was doing what. So I think that was kind of where perhaps an issue popped up, because with only having 4 people, we needed to make sure they were spread out.
Yeah. Across these like 9 scenes,
and
right?
made sure that their story made sense and it had good pace within the final edit. So I think we could have done with maybe one more actor.
One more actor, or I'd say, like you said, maybe I guess a bit more planning ahead of time, like this person will
That
be in
was
this scene.
another thing I wanted to say was I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't push Creed to allow us to
like
put
specify
people in where they should be.
Was there a reason that wasn't a thing?
Because we didn't know how it was.
An oversight,
Yeah, we didn't know how it was going to play out, to be honest. And
That's fair.
it took a while to get these actors. So we didn't know who was going to suit what better, if that made sense.
Yeah, and I think in the final edit, because it's such a sort of morning to guess halfway through the day routine thing, you're right. It makes sense to go, okay, if we start with this person here, we kind of want to see them end up at work. Like, how does that make sense? But luckily, I think in the final edit, we've got a good spread of like, okay, here's this person starting their day, here's this person starting their day, and we always see them later on regardless. I don't think there's a case where we see someone like start and then it doesn't come up again.
But did you find that in the edit that there was a lot more content of X person?
There's a waiting to Dania. Dania's got like the most content easily. Yeah. And then
I mean, she was pretty good.
No, she was really good. But I was like, okay, I need to cut something else here. Okay, I can't cut to this because it's more Dania. I guess I'll cut to this. It's not as interesting as stuff Dania's doing. So it was like ebbs and flows.
She also had the best scene in terms of the cinematography.
Which would you say that is the CCTV?
No, in the bedroom, in the house.
Yeah, it's like well composed. I like that stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool, that stuff. So you obviously do gravitate to the. All of it looked great, but like you do gravitate to like the better looking
you go
stuff,
for like
right?
the best looking stuff, and I think that's a little more difficult when you've got, I guess, more of a rigid storyboard, as we've said. Like there are certain key things that we needed to get that I guess we didn't film ahead of time because we were like, right, we haven't got enough time in the day during this. We don't want to get a dog, like you said. So a lot of it was like, I guess, stock footage. Or intentional stock footage is what I mean.
I think the idea had always been to use
stock,
right?
Yeah.
Which fine. It works. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm happy with it or not.
Yeah, the idea behind that was to provide more people, more women. Because we only had our 4, but they wanted to kind of show a wider diversity of these different faces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why they wanted all this
I get the reason why. I just prefer to have shot it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's a taste thing. Like, I stock-wise, I think my personal preference for that kind of thing is if we physically can't get it for whatever reason, but we need it, then use stock.
Yeah.
So I was quite happy to put.
I mean, you've integrated it well. Like, it doesn't stick out as stock footage.
Yeah. Would you think it would have benefited from having like another full day or like a half day?
100%. Could have done with a third day. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I wanted the production value, so that's where like some budget went, which might have been able to give us half a day extra, but you kind of have to pick and choose your battles.
Of course.
And in hindsight, if we wanted to shoot what we ended up using as stock, then an extra day, an extra actor or 2 maybe, would have been really helpful. But it's still a nice film overall.
Yeah. But I think I was really happy with it.
Yeah.
Everything considered.
I mean, like we said, like it's come out really nice. I mean, I know there was a few things in post that like you're not struggled with, but it's kind of gone through a few iterations. And
Yeah.
like your first draft is very different to like, well, not very different. It's quite different to the final delivery output.
It was a collaboration between, I guess, 4 different parties, right? So you've got me, who I'm making decisions based on what I think is like an editor. And then you've got the internal team. So I show it to everyone in the office. We talk through it. We go, okay, this is good. Maybe put this in.
Yep.
We then send it to Creed. Creed have their opinion. G4S have their opinion. So there's like a bunch of different hands. And I think it's collaborating and compromising and going, okay, this has to stay the way it is. And then we can move on this. For the most part, it's a good thing because you end up with a product that more people are happy with. But at the same time, you naturally, I think, go, oh, should I do this? Should I do this?
Yeah.
You start to question like what needs to be done versus what, you know, we want to do creatively.
Yeah, and I think Alex from Creed, who'd done the storyboard, obviously had her own vision for what she wants the final output to be.
Yeah.
And then she works with me and Jess and whatever, and then we kind of come to what we think is going to be our collective idea for what we want, but we haven't shot the thing yet. And then we go to shoot it, and then we start having our own like ideas of what we want the final thing to look like and the pacing of it and all this kind of stuff. And then you get the footage, and then it changes again.
Yeah.
So already it's gone through like 3 or 4 different versions.
Yeah.
Just in people's minds.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I remember there was a big thing with like the first version where the footage naturally clicked for me in a way. And I don't know if we've mentioned it, but it was a little bit too Royal Navy advert.
Yeah, man.
Where I found this music and it was like this big swelling sort of rising inspiration track. And I remember you watched it and you're like, it's good, but it's a little bit Royal Navy advert.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew what you meant straight away.
Yeah. But again, it's things that are like easily fixed. Like it's just like down to like music choice and the way the VO is being delivered, which we didn't know at that point because like
you haven't got it. You've got
we were going in blind, right?
Yeah.
So
we had Marc.
We had Marc's voice, yeah.
But it's like little things like that. I wasn't expecting it to be like that, but you might have done, and it's all like these little things that. Anyway, it's gone through a lot of different things, and it's come out really nice, and I think it's something that we're all pretty proud of.
Yeah,
including client, which is great. Yeah, obviously.
I think the main takeaway that we keep coming back to is, I wish we had more time. Which goes for a lot of projects. Yeah. But I think with this one specifically, because we were aiming for like such high production value and like we want to light this perfectly, we want to make it shot perfectly. I think with that thing, you're always going to want more time.
Yeah.
Just
we never have enough time and we never have enough money.
I agree. Especially with that latter
End
half.
of podcast.
We never have enough money.